Yeah, actually, you can start. You can start. We can start with a few introduction and
Second. Yeah. Uh, Start. So, uh, good morning to everybody, and good evening to Nikki, who is attending this call from US, and there's a team from Russia as well. Are participating. And my colleague from Bangalore, Mr. Sudhir Hegde and Mr. Lakshman Narayan. So, first of all, I would like to thank CPCL team to having agreed for this presentation at a very short notice. We are really obliged, and we feel that it was an important, I would say, presentation which we wanted to do, and someone is present, physically available with you. So that's the reason I requested, and so nice of you for having agreed for this. Uh, in terms of, well, I would say, introduction, maybe as far as our team is concerned, myself, Gopal Latta, I'm managing partner of Vignesh International Training and Advisory LLP, and I have a partner, Mr. Lakshmi Narayana Kongri. He is from Bangalore, and Mr. Sudhir Hegde. Of course, their introduction will be done in presentation as well. And there is a team from Russia, uh, Mr. Maxim. He is MD of Anselm, and Mr. Alex is a business partner. And we have Mr. Nikita from USA. He's a Russian origin person working in US. He's part of the Anselm team. So that's a short introduction. And from ISL side,
yeah, actually, we belongs to CPCL. CPCL is called as a Chennai Petroleum Corporation Limited. We have a refinery at Manali, which is at Chennai. We are also starting a new refinery construction very shortly. That is at Nagapattinam, which is 300 kilometer from Chennai. So these are all going to be the two refineries which CPCL is going to have. And the CPCL is a part of Indian Oil umbrella. So Indian Oil is our parent company, but CPCL as a independent status is a mini Ratna company as far the status is concerned. So we are inclined to achieve net zero and further the efficiency improvement target with a couple of year ahead. We will be want to implement all those things. With this intent, we are taking review of various energy energy saving schemes and various renewable energy, how to implement it. These activities we are intensified now. With this presentation, whatever when Mr. Gopal was telling, we are very much inclined to listen to this presentation. With me, our process engineering head, Mr. Ramesh Babu, is also joined, and along with this team. So they are joined through VC. And here at corporate office, myself and my project team is there, who will also looking after the new energy for CPCL. With this introduction, we can start. Only thing is we have a limited time slot. So I will request Gopal just to complete this and keep it short within an half an hour time. Thank you. We can start.
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Ramesh Babu. Just to add, what Mr. Gopal has said, me and Sudhir are from Bangalore Refinery. So we know, we are very much aware of Chennai Petroleum. Thank you very much for the opportunity and pleasure. Mr. Gopal, you can proceed.
So this presentation will cover briefly, in terms of journey so far for Anselm, the people involved in this, and some detail about the product. Of course, some detail about the work which has been done by Anselm in different refineries that has been summarized in terms of case study and references, and how Anselm approaches the project, and little bit detail about the patents and intellectual property which Anselm is having and using it for their work. So
Anselm and Vignesh International, how they are.
So Vignesh International Trading and Advisory LLP is a company in India. As I mentioned, myself and Mr. Lakshmi Narayan and Anselm, we are the partner in this company in India. So Vignesh is a subsidiary of the Russian company Rus Energo project. Okay, that's called Anselm, and they are known as an Anselm brand. So we are subsidiary. Vignesh is a subsidiary of Anselm. Okay, and we are working together for providing the services in India. Sure. Next, clear. Yeah. So, Nikki, you want to take over?
Yes, sure. Can you hear me well?
Yes, we can hear you. And we have 30 minutes time to complete the presentation. Please keep this in mind. Okay. Thanks.
Excellent, excellent. Okay,
Over to
let's
you.
get started then. Next slide, please.
Yeah, please.
Okay, I'm still seeing the front slide. Did you change the slide?
Yes. So.
I think you need to go to presenter mode because right now we are seeing.
Same
we are
same
seeing
slide, I think, yeah.
So, Nikki, are you able to see the agenda slide?
We can
No.
see the first slide only, and I think you need to switch to presenter mode.
Go ahead. Presentation mode. Go ahead. It is in the presentation mode only. Go ahead. Ask them whether they are seeing this slide.
Are you seeing the key people slide, Nikki?
We can only see the first slide, and that's it.
Slide is not moving.
So stop sharing. Okay. Stop sharing and
Okay, please.
Yeah, I think if you stop sharing and share the presenter mode window, then we can see.
escape. Call.
Yeah, this is one.
Specifics. No, where is the KPMG guy? I suppose. Where are you?
Can you see it now, Nikita?
You haven't started sharing yet, so we cannot see.
Just a minute.
You have to share the screen.
Yeah, just a minute.
Screens are not changing yet. This will just wait. Share. Scared only they able to see. Okay.
Okay, now we can see the second slide.
Yeah. Okay, you're seeing the second slide now?
Yeah, try going
That
back and yes, now
Yeah.
we can. Yeah. Okay.
Enable
great.
editing. Gopal, on enable editing, you can click. Yeah.
Yes, I did it.
Ah,
And screen presentation more. Second. Yeah. Okay. Is it better now? Nikki?
No.
Seems like it's loading into presentation mode.
Why they are not able to see the next slide here?
I think the same issue again.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
editing mode.
Again, it is free.
It's
Okay.
editing mode, not presentation mode.
Right, understood.
Go out and do it in the non-presentation.
Okay, now we can see.
Okay, so we'll maybe the screen is clear, I hope, to everybody.
Yeah, now we can see the second slide. Go to the next one.
It is visible now.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
Okay. Right. So a couple words about ourselves. So we have developed an innovative technology to deliver world-leading results in energy efficiency optimization and reducing carbon emissions by reducing CO2 emissions in hydrocarbon industry and in heat-intensive industries in general. So we with the origins in Russia, we have over 150 years of combined industry experience. We have some of the leading experts in heat integration and refining industry that we brought together to build a product to analyze and find those inefficiencies and address them effectively. Now, right now, some of our solutions are used in the state program of the Russian Federation for improvement of energy efficiency, and also in the net zero programs sponsored by the government. And very recently, we won the Innovation Award specifically targeted for the impact on the climate and the reduction of emissions. The way we do it is by assembling powerful algorithms that analyze the facility from not only first principles approach, but also incorporating newer techniques such as AI and so on. So if we go to the next slide, we'll dive a bit more into how we do that. All right, yeah, so here we are showing a bit of an overview of our journey so far. So as I mentioned, we've extensively collaborated with some of the leading organizations in Russia and beyond, specifically to mention some of the biggest oil companies in the world, including Rosneft, Gazpromneft, Lukoil, and so on, and also partnered with external technology providers such as Petrochem, Schneider Electric, and also we have collaborated with some of the cloud computing solutions, including Yandex and SAP. And we've won numerous innovation awards, not only from the Russian government, but also from the world organizations you can see on this slide. Next slide, please. Right, so here are some of our clients that we've worked with so far. Rosneft, Lukoil, I've mentioned already, but also we've worked with some of the biggest petrochemical companies, including recently Sibor, and we continue to expand our network on that front. Next slide, please. Right, so our team has already been introduced. Briefly encompasses some of the experts in the refining industry, both in India and in Russia. And if we go to the next slide, we'll see some of the descriptions. So here you can see some of the details from our team in India. As you can see, broad experience in refining industry and also in optimization of process and in refining. And if you go to the next slide, here are the developers of the platform that we have. So we have Max here, who has extensive experience in refining and also in efficiency optimization, and who is the founder of the Rusenergo Project company. We have Roman, right? Yeah. Next slide. Yeah. Okay. We have Roman, who also helped us, who built the platform and developed the algorithms for optimization. And if you go to the next slide, yeah, so that is me. I'm in charge of sort of the Western sector of expansion for Anselm, and I have background in catalysis and computational modeling. And if we go to the next slide, here we have some of the research fellows, including here the academician of the Academy of Sciences, Professor Uliev, who is known for numerous publications in the field of heat integration and optimization in the refining industry. And here we also have Professor Mishalkin, who is an academician of the Russian Academy of Sciences. And here you can see the numerous awards that back the research that we have done with the expertise of the people like Valery. Okay. Next slide, please. Okay, so a little bit about the method that we have. So overall, we've developed a method where we have seen from real cases we can achieve an average of 30% reduction in CO2 emissions, concomitant with 30% reduction in energy consumption. The way we do that is actually by looking at the existing silos in the heat flows that are present in the facility. We identify exactly where the inefficiencies come from, and by addressing them, we effectively minimize the amount of wasted heat that otherwise is, as you can imagine, lost. And that way, we can essentially, by improving the overall efficiency of the facility, we minimize the Scope 1 emissions that come with it. And the way we do it is we calculate the overall efficiency potential for the facility. We build essentially a digital twin of the refinery. And by analyzing all the numerous heat flows that exist there, we identify those inefficiencies. Here you can see that we do that by both benchmarking and also setting the exact goals for not only the plant level, but also the equipment level. So we'll go through that a little bit more in detail in the next slide. Next slide, please. Yeah. So here is a little bit of how we actually analyze the data. So the biggest advantage really is that we don't need to install any additional equipment. Typically what we do is we pull the data that you already have on your facility that comes from the devices that are already installed and monitoring the heat flows that you have. As you can imagine, an immense amount of data there. And then we pull the data about the actual equipment that you have. So it's tailored to the configuration that you have in the refinery. And also we look at the material balances, the consumed fuel and the energy resources at the facility, and also the output product data. So all of that is fed into the platform that we built that incorporates the algorithms that we specifically designed to identify all the inefficiencies that exist from the data. The way we do that, as you can imagine, every unit has thousands of heat flows and there are millions of ways they interact. So the algorithm takes care of actually analyzing from a big data approach, incorporating also some of the innovative methods we built with AI to identify the most efficient way to address them. And on the bottom here, you can see the way we do that is we actually assign indices to the specific parameters that we look at, incorporating the hydrocarbon emission index, the energy efficiency indices, the total economic impact indices, and so on. And that way we can create a full map of the directions that can be taken to actually address all of those inefficiencies, which gives you most flexibility to go about that most efficiently. Next slide, please. Okay, so here I'm showing a little bit about the indices that I just mentioned. So we have several modes of operation. At the top here, you can see the so-called operation mode, where we look at the minimum possible consumption. So how much is actually technologically achievable in terms of the most efficient, well, in terms of improvement of the efficiency on the technology level without much investment. So that is what you might also consider process control, right? One thing I forgot to mention also is that we can do that not only remotely, but in real time. So that allows you really the flexibility of both implementing and monitoring the metrics that we incorporate in the analysis. Now, the second level, actually, Anselm Finance, is another distinct feature that comes with the platform, which allows you to identify the economic impact of the improvement. So here we look at all the strategic targets you have set for the optimization of the facility, and we specifically implement projects to meet these targets. So say if you have if you want to maximize for the profitability, the range of projects that we propose will obviously be different from the ones that if you wanted to optimize for example, the reduction of emissions or net zero. So we work with a specific
Nick, sorry to Nick, there's a query. Yeah. Sorry to interrupt you. See, we do have such benchmarking exercise, which is done by Solomon for all our refineries. It has been centrally lined up by the Ministry of Petroleum, who is in charge of entire the petroleum sector operating in India. So they do this benchmarking study every once in every 2 years. That is usually they do, and based on that benchmarking studies to bridge the gap, whatever the gap identified, like what you are telling now, what is the gap in energy and how economically we can bridge that gap. All this exercise being done, and over and above, we do line up some consultant through our refinery performance improvement program and all. So all this exercise we are doing already. So, Shankar, there is one slide which will differentiate.
Yeah, we will go through the difference.
So it's just a feedback to you, what we are doing, so that you can fine tune your precision as per this feedback.
Okay. Thanks for the feedback, and we definitely will discuss that on the next slide as well. Yeah, let's actually go to the next slide then. So here I'm still going through the overview of how we do it, and you might think so far it's similar to how many companies do that, but as you'll see shortly, the difference in our approach is first, as I mentioned, the algorithms are new and unique. In that sense, the technology can actually find efficiencies that previously could not be found. But here, let's actually go through this slide first. Here, what I'm showing is we can not only do it on plant level, we actually can go all the way down to the single equipment level. That way you can monitor essentially for any kind of equipment you have, you can set specific targets. So what the platform allows you to do is the flexibility. Now, one thing you mentioned, obviously, Solomon does do the studies that they do, and you mentioned it happens one every 2 years. What the platform allows you to do is essentially in real time. You don't have to wait for 2 years. You can actually see how continuously your plant is changing, and as you know, all plants are flexible. In that sense, it gives you a lot more power in how to address the efficiencies that you have. So let's go to the next slide. Here a little bit in terms of the presentation, how we present the existing potential. We present, for example, you can look here in terms of a snail chart, you can see how much of the efficiency potential is already utilized. And this, again, this is probably similar to what you see with other companies like Solomon that do benchmarking. But in this case, we specifically allow you to focus on the units that you want to do, not only by efficiency, but also, for example, by emissions, by the economic factor. So all of this is completely adjustable. Let's go to the next slide. Right, so here let's actually go through some of the specific ways how we do how we look at the breaks in efficiency. So for example, here we identified that about 40% of the energy consumption for the specific unit could actually be alleviated. What that was attributed to in the end, what we do is we present how that break is broken down into the components. So you can see that here about half came from the heat exchange and another 17% from the heater. But also we look at that not only in terms of efficiency, but also in terms of how much money it would cost to address that. So, you know, often with the traditional approaches like pinch analysis, you often just identify the ways to bridge the gap, but most often it would not be the most economically viable way. So we also look at that too, and we allow to address those inefficiencies in the most economically efficient way possible. If we go to the next slide. Right, the way we do that is we propose a whole project map of different ways that you could address that, and you can see here that you can see exactly how much each project would contribute to bridging the gap. That allows you to really sort of pick the lowest hanging fruit first, and you can see here that only the essentially just 11 projects from over 60 here account for nearly half of the savings that you can achieve. So it really allows you to bridge that gap the fastest and most efficient way possible. And this, by the way, was a real case study that we did in a refinery where they had a 37% gap in efficiency that we could cover. Let's go to the next slide.
Nikki, this data is coming out of the processing of the input data. Whatever data are there, operational data, they fed into their system, and the end result is this for that particular refinery. So wherever there is a saving potential, it is presented in terms of projects, and the size of box you see is a size of potential, right? I understand. And this is how the whole. Right. So it's not without a manual intervention you are getting this input. So the software which has been developed takes care of all internal processing of data and gives this output, which can be worked upon.
So how this will be happen? The software will be installed in our premises and it start collecting, or you will be collecting the data manually, feed to the software and going there.
So in terms of data collection, your input data is available with you.
Yeah.
It is not necessary that the software is installed here. It can be kept there also in Russia, and you get
whatever data you will feeding to the software.
Yes. And it can be, doesn't have to be done manually. I think these people have some system to capture the data, but we can discuss that if there is any issue in terms of storing data outside.
So basically, Anselm is involved in the benchmarking of our refinery operation. So there will be some format which will be filling the data and giving to you, and using this data, whatever the operational data, what we are doing, you will be identify the gaps. Efficiency gaps.
So regular input data without much work can be given to them. It is fed into software, and the end result from the software is this. They identify, which area can help in improving efficiency.
What is the quantum of that area?
Yeah.
It is depicted in this.
one very important point I wanted to emphasize is that you mentioned benchmarking. We are much more than benchmarking. Benchmarking is just one little side of what we do. Not only do we identify the gaps, do the benchmarking, we also specifically develop exact projects of how to address the existing inefficiencies. So we don't just tell you, you have this much of a gap here and that much of a gap here. We actually build projects for you to exactly essentially get rid of all the gaps and in the most efficient way possible. So that is the big difference that we have with benchmarking companies. So if we go to the next slide, we'll go a little bit
data
over
on the capital cost. Okay, this
Yeah.
output will give you not only how much you will save by undertaking this project, how much capex you will have to undertake. That also is shown in this. So each project will have a capex attached to that if it is required. And there will be few projects without capex also can be done. So this is difference between other exercise in this exercise. Very interesting.
Yeah, we have that actually. If you go, on this slide, what I'm showing you here is the Anselm economy module. So that's a big part of what we do. And here you can see that for each project, for units, we identify exactly how much it would be in terms of all the economic parameters like the IRR, the NPV, the DPP, and so on. So all of that is accounted for and allows to immediately essentially cut off in practical projects, even though you might see a gap somewhere, but it might be so impractical to address, you can immediately see where you can get the most profits out of addressing it in terms of economic value. And we do the same, by the way, for emissions too. So in terms of emissions, often the biggest potential that exists that you identify from benchmarking, most often it wouldn't actually give you the most improvement in terms of cutting, making progress towards net zero. So in that sense, you get the complete full range, as we call it, full map of all the projects that allow you to make the best decision. And in this case, you can see as a result, you make the most economically justified decision from such a map. If we go to the next slide, right. Here, what I'm showing is actually essentially the benchmarking part. So here you can see we compare all the gaps across best practices and also across the units within their facility. So we allow you to essentially determine the energy efficiency, but potential the way for the way you would compare for a specific unit, and also in terms of the estimated savings that would bring that we also bring into comparison. Let's go to the next slide. Right, so let's actually talk a little bit about some of the results that we have, which we believe is the biggest differentiating factor for us. In here, you see the average savings for the different units that we have shown, and you can see that really most of them are not really much lower than 20%. So some of the units we could show. As you can see, for basically regardless of the unit of the configuration, we are confident that we can find as much as 20 to 40% of the savings, and it's been about 30% on our average. Let's go to some of the specific case studies. Right. So here, the client was interested in prioritizing the energy savings, and in this case, it's just one unit, CDU. It was 140,000 barrels per day refining capacity for the refinery. And you can see here that we were able to essentially save as high as over 40% in terms of the energy. You see, it went down from 96,000 to 56,000 MTOE per year. This amounted to about 124,000 metric tons of CO2 equivalent per year, and led the customer to save $12 to $15 billion per annum. You can see also the economic indicators here, IRR of 60%, pretty impressive. If you go to the next slide. So here, actually, the client was most interested in the economic benefit, and you can see here, even though we reduced the energy consumption by a small amount, the economic indicators are even more impressive. We got an 88% IRR for this project with 4 to 5 million per annum. And that was through the advanced integration that we did, which actually did not require much investment as well, but allowed to abandon the use of a whole furnace, essentially in the gasoline stabilization unit. So by capturing as much heat, we could actually shut down one of the equipments there. And you can see this savings, by the way, comes just from the energy that we saved. You can imagine how much also would be added on from maintenance and so on. So the effect of that is even higher. And here is another example for a pyrolysis plant that we did that was specifically from chemistry. In this case, we could reduce the emission by 15,000 tons of CO2 equivalent per year and saved 2 million per annum. Let's go to next slide. Okay. So here we are showing a typical roadmap of how it's done. We start with the analysis. We pull the data, and it usually takes a few months to do all the calculations. And after that, we essentially present the roadmap for all the projects, as I discussed before. And in this case, you can see for this specific case, it was a unit where we reduced the energy consumption from 165 to just under 100 megawatts, with an NPV of just 20 million and IRR of 60%. So we have numerous cases like this, and always we see that with the efficiency measures that we advise, and I emphasize again, it's not just benchmarking, it's the specific projects that we give to you and tell you exactly what needs to be done. We always see the estimated results match what we deliver. Let's go to the next slide.
So, Shankar, here you will see the difference. In terms of just giving you benchmarking, it's not ending here. There is a complete handholding till the project.
I could clearly see that there is a difference between the benchmark exercise and what you are giving to us.
Absolutely, it's a handholding till project is complete. We are here with you.
But this is what exactly we are also looking for. We need a partner who not only benchmark the thing, tell us what is the gap, also be with us identifying the problem and implement the project. This is what exactly.
At equipment level, the studies at equipment level. So they're going to work with you. And best thing is, decision is yours. If you feel this investment can be made with this benefit, you decide go ahead. If you want more to do that, but you're a business organization, so you will always be inclined to invest where there's a good saving. So it's more of a rational decision making process, which is team is part of that. They support you technically, and commercial decision yours.
Maybe in India you are just came recently, it seems, because all our references are
Solomon and MCL and right? Nelson and Solomon is the present way of understanding this. But Anselm is doing this in Russia for some time already with biggest of the refinery like Rosneft, Lukoil, Gazprom. They are already working there, and they have given the result. Those are there on the paper, can be verified. And so that's the reason, we thought that India also deserved this sort of exercise to, reduce energy consumption and CO2 reduction, which is like a net zero project which you have. This can be a contributor, and we'll tell you how it is done differently even in next slide. Yes, Nikki, please. Go ahead.
Yeah. Just as you mentioned, Gopal, yes, exactly. That's what differentiates us from average consulting companies and even the biggest consulting companies, that we are there with you all the way. So essentially, we are not only doing the estimation and telling you where you are not doing well. We are there to actually bring the expertise that we have, the engineering expertise and the refining expertise, to actually tell you how to implement it specifically for your facility. So here we are showing another example again, how smart decision making with the algorithmic analysis that we do allows to actually achieve much higher results, not only in reduction of emissions, but also economically. So here you can see that compared to a traditional approach with the lower capex, we got essentially a big improvement in efficiency, and could put a whole cooler in reserve with a 60% IRR. Let us go to the next slide.
So, here also you just see generally how people approach. If there is a problem, like, the furnace doesn't heat, this is a problem, or, coolers can't cool. If this is a problem, traditionally we say, okay, replace them and, spend the money. Here, the way of study is very different. Here you invest a little less and achieve more benefit. So it's an approach which makes a difference in the traditional decision-making process.
Yeah, I think probably we can skip this since we don't have much time left. I've already covered this. So here is a comparison with some of the other companies that do benchmarking or also efficiency optimization. You can see how we compare. Like I said, you mentioned Solomon only does once every 1 or 2 years. We can actually do in real time. We can do the monitoring in real time as well. We compare unit by unit as well from plant all the way bottom up approach, essentially to equipment level. The results that we present are on both efficiency and emissions level, but also backed by economic factors. So you can actually see how much you're going to save economically as well. We rank all the projects in the project map, and we also are there all the way with advising you on implementation, so that essentially you're not left on your own. After you get the report, you're left wondering what needs to be done. We cover that basis too. So that is one of the biggest differentiators for us. And here again, we are actually in terms of the benchmarking, we're comparing. Solomon Associates is one of the leaders in benchmarking. What differentiates us is that with the automated assessment that we run, we show the level of the possible reduction, but also what needs to be done to achieve that reduction, but also not in a generic way, but specifically tailored to your needs, to your equipment, and we are there to actually guarantee that the results are delivered. Let's go to the next slide. Right, so here we're just showing, again, it's just a snapshot of one of the projects we had. Let's actually skip. Let's go to the next one. Sorry, what was the question?
No, it's okay. Please go ahead.
Yeah, so here we're just showing some of the snapshots. Again, project map, we already covered that. Let's go to the next slide. Right, so this is actually a pretty important slide that hopefully will highlight the differentiators that set us apart. So what do we offer? So first, insight, of course. The blind zone around the energy efficiency projects is excluded. So you can be sure that essentially you've considered all the opportunities that exist. Ease, we do not require any expensive instrumental surveys. We don't even need to bring expensive consultants to your facility, slow down the operations. We run everything remotely based on the data that you collect already. It's convenient, obviously, as well. It's fast. We don't take a year or 2 years. We essentially the full analysis can be done in a few months. It's complete as well. We are, as mentioned, we show full range of all the activities that can be taken. Assurance as well, that is a very important one. All the efficiency projects bring essentially guaranteed profits. So when we say that we are going to save a certain amount of CO2 or we will reduce the emissions by a certain amount, that essentially we can back it up. And we have all the cases have shown that so far all our estimates are pretty accurate. So when we do that, it's not just out of thin air, it's all backed up. And actually also your engineers can verify the project that we propose, run a simulation in Aspen or whatever software you use. So essentially all of that brings your additional reliability with justification. And it's well structured. We show all the maps. Yeah, so I've covered all these as well. So a very important slide here, I think very pertinent to what CPCL is doing, specifically on profitable decarbonization. One of the, essentially the only approach right now to achieve decarbonization reduction in scope 1 emissions in a profitable way is to address the existing silos in energy efficiency. And you can see here with typical technologies like carbon capture, biofuels, transitioning to electrification, it's typically shown by case studies that companies spend about $150 to capture a ton of CO2. From our projects, Anselm Zero, we have achieved essentially $140 to $200 gain in terms of improvement per ton of CO2 that we capture. So not only do we reduce the emissions, we do so in the most profitable way for the company, so that incentivizes them to accelerate on the path to net zero, which essentially is what it is about in terms of the competitive environment on that path.
So your net zero project, basically is not requiring investment. You are investing for saving the energy, and byproduct is CO2 reduction. So your net zero project is without cost, and it can be done in a very.
And this is what exactly we are looking for.
So otherwise, if you want to just attempt zero net, people will say, okay, spend this much money. Here we are saying that we'll achieve your net zero to a great extent, but you invest and get a payback separately.
Yes.
So that's a very different approach. And this is what has been appreciated even in Russia. There is a, basically a Green Eurasia Award, which this company has received. Like SARC, I would say association. There is a Eurasian association of six countries, including Russia. So in May, there was a, conference where Anselm was given an award, okay, for their contribution in terms of, reducing the pollution, bringing energy efficiency. So this project has been even recognized at, that level. And there's a focus of CO2 everywhere. And this company is getting that recognition.
Yeah, it's a nice initiative. You are converting the net zero target into an opportunity.
It's an opportunity.
That's a good approach.
It's a very, in the Eurasian Forum, Economic Forum, where the award is given, the president of Russia was there. The deputy prime minister gave the award to Maxim, he's the MD of the company, and Ronen, they were there. I'll share the video with you.
Yeah. And as mentioned, our research is also backed up by extensive scientific data. So we have papers in specialized journals. We have all the data seen, also appreciated by the academia. Let's go to the next slide. And that's also what's highlighting the innovativeness of our approach, in the sense that the technology that we apply to actually achieve the most profitable.
There are 7 patents which they have for different areas in Russia, and each patent is for a particular purpose, like for calculation of performance indicator of industrial facility. Then there is a C-loop analysis, that is the calculation of dynamic energy consumption. So different purposes are there for each of the patent, and this is what the technology which is being used in the study.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I had a bit of a connection issue. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, please.
Okay, excellent. Yeah, so here, as Gopal said, we are showing the patents for the technology, so that again, the new approach has been patented. Let's go to the next slide. That's what also gives us, a huge competitive advantage. So as you have seen in the case studies, very well, we are not aware of any other companies that have shown, as high as 60% improvement in efficiency, which is huge, not only in terms of emissions, but in terms of economic benefit. Here we are actually showing a reference straight from Rosneft. That was one of the cases that we did for them, and you can see here. And also, this shows some of the support that we've received from the government organizations in Russia, the Skolkovo Innovation Center, the Clean Air Initiative, the UN experts. So we have an extensive support, and we keep expanding on that too, in terms of the relationships that we built.
Recently, this company was also selected by, Association of Strategic Initiative. It's an organization floated by a decree from Prime Minister in 2011. Presently, it is headed by Mr. Putin. He is the chairman of this association of Strategic Initiative. There, this company has been selected for support in terms of growing their business in Russia and outside. So these people are entitled. If there's a need, those people come forward and verify and say, yes, this is our company, can do it. So that's the type of stamp which this company has recently received, ASI certification.
Apart from Vignesh International, they have any presence? So they will be represented by
Vignesh. We are the subsidiary company of.
So the data collection and all, you will be coming and collecting data, or you just it's offline, we will be sending?
We can decide mechanism, but we have as we introduced Mr. Sudhir Hegde. He's part of the team. He was group general manager in MRPL till recently, before he retired. He is familiar with all refinery working. And Mr. Lakshmi Narayan, his partner in Vignesh, he has worked in refinery. Plus, he was CEO of Shell MRPL, the jet fuel retail business. Okay, so these are the people involved. And yes, slowly we are building the team in India as well. But depending on the need, once we come into the project, we'll decide whatever is required. So at least at a strategic level, thinking level, we have a team in India as well. But technology-wise, yes, presently it is in Russia. Slowly, we will try to simulate that here in India as well, and you will not feel that you are having to deal with somebody whom you don't know. Where are they? No, we will have a phase to the project, and say myself,
Challenges I'm seeing is during the data collection, analysis, the identifying the opportunities, and even suggesting a suitable methodology or techniques to arrest those efficiency leakages. Those are all fine. We can do it offline. But when the hand-holding and implementation of the exercise is correct, then we need a people outside.
like Mr. Sudhir is going to lead the team. Depending on the need, we will have people made available. And Sudhir is like, what you are doing. He has done in the PL for a long. So you will not find a case. He's there on the call.
Yes,
Mr. Sudhir, say hi to Mr. Shankar.
Hello, Mr. Sudhir. Nice to have you.
Yeah. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Nice to have you.
As far as the implementation is concerned, sir, you don't worry. We are there.
Yeah. Okay, fine.
So any questions, if time permits, we can take it now. We have a Russian team also on the call. Mr. Maxim, he's the MD of the company.
Nick is from Russia.
Nick is in US presently. He's from Russia only. He's in US presently, working very closely with the team in Anselm, and he has his own specialization, to contribute into this. He has done a PhD in US, and he's started this.
He made a very convincing presentation. We understand now what is the difference between the simple benchmarking exercise and what you are putting on the table. It's nice to have this presentation. With this information, we will discuss with our Ramesh Babu sir is joined. He is the one who is heading our entire technical department, and he is the one who is doing all this benchmarking and also the refinery improvement program I have told. Presently, he is doing such program. Sir, if you find some opportunity now how to incorporate this in our present program, also you can see.
Okay, sir. So anyhow, at present we are doing our Solomon benchmarking study on once in 2 years. We are doing it, and all the data we have shared to them. And this presentation is more or less a software program which they are going to suggest us. So we will look into it, sir. What are the possibilities with
Sure, sir.
how much we can do it.
Presentation today was just to make you familiar with the technology which we have in Anselm, and after this, I would say presentation, whatever further queries are there, those can be answered, and we can work more closely depending on I would say the interest which will come from CCPL. But we are sure that we can add a lot of value in the energy efficiency and the CO2 reduction project in each of the refined in the country. We are approaching others as well, but we are confident that it will be a good, I would say, win-win type of situation. And the best part, as we discussed earlier, is there's a complete hand-holding. We are not running away. Even, we will have our fee linked with the success. So it's not that we are giving some consultancy, some paper and collecting our money. No, they're going to work with you.
Yeah.
One of the comments I wanted to highlight for Mr. Ramesh's comments is that one of our strengths is we are not just a software company, or we are not just a consulting company. We essentially combine both. So the software is used by us, by the experts, to deliver the strategic consulting, the strategic advice that is needed to address those efficiencies. So you would not be, you would not have to, install some complicated software and learn how to learn it. We will be there to make, to essentially deliver the results for you. So that is an important comment I wanted to add.
So Sujit is on the screen. Actually.
Yeah. Whatever the outputs there from the softwares, whatever required to fine tune the hardware or the addition or the deletion of the hardware also will be taken care by the system.
So that only data share, collection data sharing is more important. Once we are predicting all the energy efficiency through the software initially we will do it. Then if required hardware, you can implement it, or any suggested operating condition, we will implement. That will be getting benefit. This is what you're trying to say.
Yes, sir. Yes, exactly.
Yes, and I also wanted to mention that many of the projects do not even, as I mentioned, do not require significant investment, in the sense that you might not even need to install any additional equipment. Often even a simple thing as rewinding some of the heat flows, actually a lot that you already have, allows you to recapture quite a lot of the potential that is lost. So we identify those opportunities too, and that's how we achieve the high IRR in terms of minimizing the spending, maximizing the output.
Nick, you can come on video. I think people can see you, because it will be
Oh, yeah,
nice
sure.
if you can on your video.
Let me turn on
request to
the
Maxim as well.
The boxer.
Yeah.
Into the house sequence.
hello, do you see me now?
Yeah.
See you.
And Maxim,
excellent.
you can use your video if you are around. Yeah, hi.
Hi.
So Maxim, he is the MD and CEO of Anselm, the man behind the magic which they are doing.
You are doing a great job.
Great.
So
Lakshmananji?
we now appreciate clearly the difference and the total package which you are bringing onto the table. So with this input, we will be going to discuss with internally with our management, and we will be keeping in touch with Mr. Gopal. So any partnership we can develop, it would be fantastic. So we are in appropriate moment where we are looking, as I've said before, we are eagerly looking for opportunities to make ourselves net zero. And various one main thing is the various energy efficiency, which is you are also mentioning. So we won't convert this this net zero thing as an opportunity, like what you are exactly mentioned, and it is just fitting us. So we will see. Thanks for this presentation. It's a wonderful time spent. So we will come back.
Thank you.
Thank you for your attention.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you so much for this opportunity.
Yeah,
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye, Maxim, Nick, Sudhirji.
Bye. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Hi. Mr. Alex is a business partner. There.
He seems to be joining.
I'm sorry, Mr. Maxim is in the bottom. He came on the video now. And Mr. Alex, I'm sorry,
Yes, right. Okay.
I understand.
So Alex is
I can read the name.
Mr. Alex is the father of Nick. Okay, so they work.
Yes.
Yeah, if you have any follow-up questions, I wanted to mention, if you have any follow-up questions, we'll be happy to address them too. So do let us know.
Sure, Nick.
Thanks, Nick.
Okay. Have a good day. Have a good day.
Yes, wish you the same.
Thank you.
Thank you.